morning, everybody, and welcome to Museum Munchkins. I'm Mr. Nick, and today we are talking all about this animal right here, the possum. And we're going to start off by singing a possum song if you want to stand up on your feet so you can dance along to this song. So this song is called Playing Possum. Have you ever heard that before? If someone's playing possum? Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But when someone says playing possum, that's something that possums do where they pretend like they're asleep or that they're dead and they're not moving, so things will leave them alone when they get scared. So we're going to sing a little song about playing possum. And you can feel free to dance around however you like during this song. But in the middle of the song, we're going to do a playing possum solo where we're all going to play possum like this. Are you ready? We're going to hold our hands up like this and make our fingers really stiff and open our mouths as wide as we can and sort of lay on our backs like that. Okay, so when you hear us say, it's time for our playing possum solo, we're going to and freeze just like that, all right? All right. You think I'm sleeping, but I'm not. You think I'm sleeping, but I'm not. My eyes are closed and I am still, it's true. But I'm fooling you. And when you say, are you okay? And when you say, are you okay? I stay real still till you go on your way. And then I run away. I'm playing possum, 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 oh possum. I'm playing possum, oh possum. O-P-O-S-S-U-M. And when I lie down in the leaves, and when I lie down in the leaves, I just can't wait until you pass right through. And then I'll say, boo! I'm playing possum, 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 oh possum. I'm playing possum, oh possum. O-P-O-S-S-U-M. Are you ready now for our playing possum solo? Ready? I'm playing possum, 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 oh possum. I'm playing possum, oh possum. O-P-O-S-S-U-M. Very good. Thanks so much for playing possum with me in that song. I'm going to set my guitar down so we can talk all about possums. All right. Have you ever seen a possum before? Here, I'm going to hold it up again so you can see it a little bit better. Have you ever seen an animal like this before? So possums are animals that live around here in North America. Let me turn my globe around so we can see where North America is. So possums live around here in North America, and they're actually the only type of marsupial that lives here in the United States, that we find naturally living here in the United States. And a marsupial is an animal that gives birth when the babies are very, very small, and then the babies crawl into a pouch. So you might have heard of other marsupials before, like kangaroos or koalas. We find a lot of marsupials way on the other side of the world in Australia, but here in the United States, we only find this possum that lives naturally. So possums, as you can see, aren't very big. Usually possums are only about the size of a cat, maybe a couple feet long and only weighing about 10 to 15 pounds. Not very much. But they're really interesting animals that live around here, and they have more teeth in their mouths than any other mammal that we find in the United States. They have more teeth than most mammals, actually. So actually, can you show me your teeth? Where are your teeth? Can we smile really big and see our teeth? Well, we have, when humans get all big and grown up, we have 32 teeth in our mouths. But possums have about 50 teeth in their mouths, and they use those teeth for eating just about anything that they can find, because possums are omnivores. Can you say that word with me? Omnivore. And an omnivore is an animal that eats meat and plants. It eats about just anything that it can find. So possums really like to eat fruit and vegetables that they can find, but they also will eat insects and frogs and snakes and eggs and birds and bones that they find just laying around in the woods. They'll eat just about anything that they can find. But their favorite food, I don't know if you know this, a possum's favorite food is a type of fruit called a persimmon that we find growing in the fall usually. So possums really like the fall when the persimmons are growing. They really like those. And they're also really interesting animals because of their feet and their tails. So most of the time, if we look at an animal's feet that's not a human or like a monkey or another ape like us, then we find all their toes are pretty much the same, but not possums. On their back feet, they actually have kind of like a thumb. We don't call it a thumb, but it kind of works just like a thumb for them to be able to grab branches while they're climbing around in trees or when they're climbing over things. They can hold onto things really well with those thumbs that they have on their back feet. And their tail is really good for wrapping around and holding onto things too. So we call that a prehensile tail, just like a monkey has a prehensile tail. And monkeys can grab onto things with their tails. Possums can do that too. So sometimes they use their tail to hold on to like branches and things while they're climbing through trees, but they can also use their tail to hold on to food or to hold on to sticks that they're carrying around from place to place to maybe make a nest. They can grab lots of different things with their tails. Sometimes we see possums hanging upside down from trees by their tails, but usually that's only because a possum maybe fell out of a tree and it caught itself with its tail, or sometimes younger possums like to play around and hang upside down from branches by their tails. But most adult possums don't really do that. And they have that tail for holding onto things and those special thumbs on their feet for grabbing onto things because they spend a lot of their time up in trees. So we call them semi-arboreal. That means they live part of the time or a lot of the time up in trees, but then they will come down to the ground. Now, you may or may not have seen a possum before because they're nocturnal, so they only come out at night. So if you want to see a possum, you're going to have to stay up pretty late in order to see them. And like we said, in our song, possums like to do something that's a little bit silly. They do something that we call playing possum, where because they're not very big animals and there's lots of other bigger animals in their environments that might like to catch and eat them, things like wolves or coyotes or even a fox might hunt one, Whenever they get scared, especially scared of things like humans too, because we're a lot bigger than them, whenever they get scared, their body actually makes them freeze up and they fall over and their tongue hangs out and they get a lot of spit all over their mouth and they start to smell really, really bad. Their body makes a really, really bad smell when this happens, so that animals that might be hunting them will think that they're not alive anymore, that they're dead, and then they will leave them alone and they won't want to eat them because they're a dead, stinky animal, and they might not want to eat a dead, stinky possum. And interestingly, possums can stay like that for 6 hours, just frozen and not moving until things will leave them alone or move on from their area. Now, possums spend a lot of their time living by themselves, so they really only spend time with other possums when they're really small, when they're babies and they're spending time with their brothers and sisters and with their mom. But most of the time, after they get older, they spend all of their time alone, looking for food and looking for new places to live. So they'll stay in a place for as long as there's food and water there, but as soon as they can't have food or water in the place where they're living, they will move on to a new place. So they're really good about that, about finding places where they can find food and things to eat. They're really interesting animals, and they're really interesting to watch, especially because of those thumbs and that prehensile tail. What good climbers they are. But just like all wild animals, if we happen to see a possum around our house, we should stay back from it. Preferably, we should watch it from inside, from behind the window, from inside our houses, and just maybe watch it scurrying across our backyard or scurrying across the street. Sometimes we'll see them when they run across the street to get from tree to tree looking for food. But we should always stay back when we watch them. And like we said, they only come out at night, so we might have to stay up pretty late to see a possum running around our neighborhood. And like we said, an animal that only comes out at night is called nocturnal. Those are night animals, and in fact, our story today is called Night Animals, and we're going to talk a little bit more about other animals that are around at night. I've got my story on my iPad again today. So while we read our story, if you have any questions about possums that you would like to have me answer, we're going to answer some questions in just a little bit after we read our story and while we make our craft for today, which I'm pretty excited to show you guys. But for right now, let's read our story called Night Animals by Gianna Marino. There's our little possum. Ooh, and there's lots of eyes hiding in the darkness. Hey, possum, what are you doing in there? Shh! I'm hiding. What are we hiding from? Night animals. Now keep quiet. What kind of animal was that joined the possum in the tree? Did you see? A skunk. Can you move over? Let's find somewhere else. Oh, that tree is not big enough for the skunk and the possum to be inside. So they're going to go find a bigger place to hide. Did you hear something? Are you trying to scare me? Help me! Ow! Help you! You're a wolf! Oh, there's that stinky possum. He's starting to play possum. Look, you can see how stinky he is getting. He's starting to fall over because that wolf is running up to them. But something is following me. Oh, there's eyes back there following the wolf. What do you think it could be that's scaring a wolf? What is it? The possum, look, he fainted. He's falling over. It's big and hairy with long, sharp claws. Can you see what kind of animal this is? The possum says, I'm not here. You guys gotta help me! Something huge is coming! Why is the sky getting darker? What can be bigger than a bear? Oh no! Can you think of what all these animals might be scared of in the nighttime? Night animal, run, hide! Oh, look, the skunk grabbed the possum because the possum fainted and was playing possum. They're all running. It must be a really scary animal. Stop! Oh, look, I see. There's a big shadow on the ground. But look, is that animal that's making the shadow very big? No, it's just a little bat. What are you so scared of? We're scared of night animals. But you are night animals. Oh. So bears and wolves and possums and skunks and bats are all animals that come out at night. Did you hear something? Oh, there's someone over there. Click. Run, run, run! So the night animals are running away, and the people in their tent who are camping are running away. But look at the possum. He's getting all stinky again. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, I hear another night animal, an owl. Oh, and that possum fell back over. Playing possum again. The end. That's the end of our story. I like that story a lot because all those animals were getting scared of things that were nothing really to be scared about because they were just scared of other animals that were around at the same time, out at the same time of day as them, weren't they? All those different night animals. Do you ever get scared at nighttime? Usually when I get scared at nighttime, it's something that I can explain away, or that has a simple explanation and that I really didn't need to be afraid of. Like, oh, maybe I saw something move in my room. But if I turn on the lights, it's just my sweatshirt hanging on the door. Or maybe it's just my dog who got up to stretch. All right, I'm going to clear off my little counter here so that we can do our craft for today. And I've got some of your questions here for us to read and answer while we do our craft. So today's craft, because possums like to use their prehensile tail to hang on to tree branches and hang on to other things, I thought it would be fun to make a possum that would like to hang on your doorknob. So we're going to make this craft today, and what you'll need is a piece of cardboard and some water and a paintbrush and some different paints. So I've got a gray and a red and a black one and a white paint. And then I've got a tray for me to mix my paints on while I'm painting. So you could use a paper plate or some newspaper. And it's always good to put newspaper down before you do a project like this so we don't make a mess. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is have your parent or adult help you with this part first, because this part can be a little bit tricky. So I traced a circle onto the top of my cardboard, and then I cut it out like this, leaving a space like this so I can fit my doorknob on this cardboard when I'm all finished like that. So as soon as you get that part cut out, then we can start with the rest of our craft. So to start, I'm going to need some gray paint, and I have my water here to rinse my brush off. So I'm just going to use a little bit of gray paint. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a big oval shape right in the middle of my cardboard here. And while we do that, let's answer some questions. So Noelle would like to know if baby possums look the same as their moms. Well, they do eventually, but when a baby possum is first born, they look very, very different. So they look they're very, very small, and they don't have any hair on their bodies. Their eyes aren't open. They don't have any teeth. and they really can't move very well at all. They can move about just well enough to be able to find their way into their mother's pouch, where then they'll stay in their pouch until they get a lot bigger, until they grow hair and they can open their eyes, and it's time, and they're able to come out of their mother's pouch, and they grow until when they grow their hair, then they can get out of their mother's pouch so that they can keep warm with their own hair. They don't need to use their mother's body heat to keep their bodies warm. All right, I'm just about done painting this large oval shape on my cardboard. There you go. Can you see? I painted a big oval shape on my cardboard. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need some white paint, because possums have kind of a grayish tan body, and then they have a white head. They have a lot of white fur on their heads. So I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, and I'm going to paint another kind of egg shape on top of my oval. And while we do that, let's answer another question. Aiden would like to know, how do babies eat when they are in the mom's pouch? And do the babies stay in the pouch for a certain amount of time? Yes, they do. So they'll stay in their mom's pouch for quite a while until, like I said, until they get big enough to leave their mother's pouch. Usually, or sometimes, all opossums take a little bit longer time, or a different amount of time, before they leave their mother's pouch. But while they're in their mother's pouch, they drink the milk that their mother makes. So while they're in the pouch, they have access to their mother's milk that she's making from all the food that she's eating, so her body can make milk for the babies to continue to grow inside her pouch. All right, so I've got my little egg shape there now on top of my big gray oval, and I'm going to rinse my brush off just a little bit. And next, I'm going to need some black paint. All right, so I'm going to get just a little bit of black paint so I can paint some ears and some eyes on my possum. So I've got my brush here, and I'm going to give, with my black paint, I'm going to give my possum 2 little black eyes. One, two. And I'm going to give him 2 ears. So they don't have a lot of hair on their ears at all. So their ears are kind of just this dark skin, kind of like leathery skin. Get some ears on my possum. There we go. And I think with the black too, I'm even going to add, get just a little bit more paint, and I'm going to add some whiskers, because possums have whiskers. So maybe if you have a couple different paintbrushes at home, you could use different paintbrushes to different things, but I'm going to use my one paintbrush to do all of the different painting that I'm going to do on my possum. See if I can make this possum's eyes a little more round by spinning my paintbrush a little bit. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to need some pink paint. Now you might be remembering, like, well, Mr. Nick, you didn't bring any pink paint. I brought black and gray and white and red. But if I take just a little bit of red and I mix it with some white paint, I will make pink paint. And I can use that pink paint to make the possum's tail and little hands and feet. All right, so I'm going to mix my red paint in with the white paint that I had squirted on my little tray here before to make some pink paint. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a big curly tail that goes up and around this circle that we cut out of our cardboard. And while we do that, Elle wants to know, where do possums sleep? That's a good question, Elle. Well, possums, we find possums, they usually like to sleep up in trees where they're away from predators and other animals who might want to munch on them while they're sleeping. So we usually find them up in trees but sometimes we could find a possum sleeping on the ground. All right, so I've got my tail here. See how it kind of curls around that circle? And now I'm going to use my paintbrush to paint some little tiny feet and hands on my possum. So I'm going to kind of make a little circle for each of my hands and feet. So there's 2 feet and 2 hands. Make the hands a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to use my paint to make some little fingers. Just like that. And I have to make sure that I make that fun like little thumb that they have on their back feet. Perfect. And then one more little touch. I'm going to give a little pink nose to this possum. Perfect. There we go. And I can rinse off my brush. Keep my brush nice and clean for the next time I want to do this activity. Oh, and if I really want to, then too, I could take a little bit more of that gray paint and put some kind of like hair in his ears. Or I could take some black paint and put a little bit of hair on the top of its head. Just like that. Perfect. All right, so I hope that you guys have fun making some possum door hangers at your house too. And I look so forward to seeing you all next week for Museum Munchkins, when we'll be talking all about one of everybody's favorite dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. We'll see you guys all then.